In my Tuesday blog, we're in the middle of a 3-part series called The Language of Progress. And last week, we defined a few basic project management terms. This week, we talked about some basic testing ideas. And next week, we're going to be talking about the idea or the concept of continuous improvement. So this week and next, for the Raise the Bar videos, what I'd like to do is just expand a little bit on the written content that I've been putting in the weekly blog. And in case you're not familiar with that, it comes out on Tuesdays, and you can click the button below to catch up on the last couple episodes if you missed them. So when it comes to releasing new products or testing new products and getting them to market, and the same thing can apply to a service, by the way, I'd like to talk about these 4 words. We've got the word engage, connect, refine, and restrict. And the 4 words really represent 4 principles that I've found to be extremely helpful to me over the years. So today I wanted to share them with you in conjunction to what I wrote on Tuesday. So the first idea here is that we want to engage our customers early. And in my experience, it's never too early to get feedback from a customer or to show them an idea about what you're thinking. Now, some industries are restricted in terms of like top secret clearance, aerospace, things like that. So if you're in one of those industries, obviously you cannot do this to the extent that I like to do it. But if you're developing software, developing hardware, firmware, whatever it is that you're doing, or offering a new service, a new group idea, etc., you can engage your end user as early as possible. And I think that really helps because it keeps you from hopping, or the train from hopping off the track downstream if you're heading down the wrong direction. The second thing I like to do is to connect your team with your customers as early as possible. Now, some years back, I worked in product management as I was kind of making my way from design engineering up to senior management. And one of the things I started doing, which really worked out well, was whenever I could, I traveled a lot in those days, and whenever I could, I would always take one of the engineers or software developers with me to visit a customer site. And I found that having that face-to-face connection created a bond. And so then when they came back with me to the lab or to the shop, and we were starting to work on the product or the ideas for the software, whatever it happened to be, they actually had a face of a customer that they could put with the work that they were doing. So it really personalized that experience quite a bit. And over about a 4 or 5 year period, it really revolutionized the way that our engineering team produced things because they knew who they were producing those things for. All right, the third idea that I'd like to talk about is to refine your product or service often. I think customers over time appreciate it when you deliver smaller batches of refinements or improvements, but do them reliably and do them consistently. One of the ideas that I've seen over the last few years that I really like is some companies, when they're thinking through their and I've seen it mostly in the context of software, but when they're releasing software products, they'll actually put their roadmap right up on their website for customers to check out and see which features are coming and which releases. And in some cases, I've even seen them allow customers to upvote the features that they find to be most important to them. So in a way, they're in constant contact with their customers. And for the customers that like to engage at that level, they can log onto the site anytime, add their own suggestions for inclusion later on the list, or even upvote certain features that are in the pipeline, which I think is a very, very cool idea. And the final thing we'll talk about today is to revisit scope. Those of you who have been around the tech world know exactly what I'm talking about, and you've probably been smirking through most of this video because you know that this part of the conversation is coming. So if you're not careful, when you do solicit input and engage customers early, when you connect them with your team, when you go through this refinement process, it's really easy to let the project get too big. So the final point is to restrict or to revisit your scope on a regular basis to make sure that it's not growing out of control. Now, when you refine often and you deliver in smaller chunks like we just talked about, that makes it easier over time to actually keep your scope under control because you can break things up into bite-sized chunks. All right, that's all for this week. Next week, we'll talk a little bit about Kaizen, which is one of the key philosophies or ideas behind continuous improvement, and that will go along with next Tuesday's blog. So have a great week, and I'll see you next Thursday.